Hello and welcome to Sunday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic on a roasting hot day here in the UK. I know I don't get to say that very often, but it is properly hot today. I think it's touching 30 degrees. I know for some of you that will not seem like a hot day indeed. Last week when I was in Philadelphia, 30 degrees felt cool, but for me in the UK, especially in my office, which gets very, very warm, it is a warm day. And we're going to celebrate that fact by having a look at a puzzle by the great Jay Dyer. Now, this one's been requested by some of you who have had an attempt at it and haven't been able to solve it. It's got 4 stars out of 5 for difficulty, and it's called These Aren't the Circles You're Looking For, which I think must be a reference to Star Wars. And these aren't the droids you're looking for. I've read the rules. They seem at first glance to be unusual. I think that's the best thing I can say about them. But anyway, I will read you the rules in a moment or two's time. I don't have much news for you today. Just as usual, over on Patreon, which is our sort of Sudoku club, we have a wonderful Sudoku hunt ongoing. It's a competition by Scojo, Jojo and JoBo. And lots of puzzles in that hunt, and the competition closes on the 20th. Mark and I are intending to resume streaming soon as well, so I think we'd been doing Braid. We probably should do that. The other thought we had was to work through some of the puzzles in our 600,000 subscriber celebration pack, where we tested all the puzzles, but we made sure that one of us tested each puzzle, if you see what I mean. So the other one, if we did decide to stream, could do a live solve of it. So we might do that at some stage as well, or it might be a totally different game. Don't know, but that we do intend to do that maybe in the coming week. And what else? Oh, there's a birthday. Let me wish Charlie a very happy 26th birthday, and this is from your partner Bethany. And Charlie is a nurse who watches Cracking the Cryptic to wind down. And I think the two of you have just passed your 2-year anniversary, if I'm not mistaken. So I hope that went well. I hope, Charlie, your birthday today is brilliant. You've certainly got, if you're in the UK, you've got the day for it. And I hope, of course, that you have a very large slice of chocolate cake. Now, that's all the news. Let's have a look at Jay Dyer's puzzle. These are the rules. Today we've got normal Sudoku rules apply, so we have to put the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, every column, and every 3x3 box. Now this is where it gets strange. I can hear Mavericks taken off. That's not what's strange. That happens every single episode, but that's remarkably quick again. Anyway, shade some cells such that if a digit n appears in a shaded cell, it appears in exactly n shaded cells. The digit in a circle equals the sum of the digits in all shaded cells in the 3x3 area centered on the circle. And the digit on the grey square is even. So I understand that rule. This square is a 2, 4, 6 or 8. That seems to be what we're being told there. I'm just going to read that middle paragraph again. Shades themselves. If a digit n, so if a 6, I was about to say if a 6 appears in a circle, but that's not right, is it? This. Oh, hang on. So the circles. I've got used to the circles rule, as I call it in Sudoku. I don't think this puzzle is actually about circles rules, or it is, but the circles aren't doing the job they usually do. So if a 6 was shaded anywhere in the puzzle, then there would be 6 shaded 6s in the puzzle. But the digit in a circle is nothing. Well, it is to do with that, but it's not to do with the count of the same digits. The digits in a circle are the sum of all the digits in all the shaded cells in the 3x3 area centered on the circle. So let's look at this circle here. So what we're doing is we look at the 3x3 area surrounding the circle, and then in that area we have to say how many cells. So let's just shade in some cells and unshade others, and then this digit is the sum of the digits in those shaded cells. Okay, so we'd have to do something like 2 1, 3, 1. Oh, although I've just realised that doesn't work, because then I've got 2 shaded 1s. I could do that. This is really interesting. So now this square would contain, I think, a 9, being the sum of 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 3. I think that's how it works. It's already interesting, even trying to concoct an example of how the rules work. Anyway, do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. But now, I get to play Let's Get Cracking. So my normal tip for circles puzzles is to add up the circles, but that's not going to help me here, is it? Because the circles aren't doing the usual job. The circles are summing the number of shaded cells around them. So is that what I think I was about to say is totally wrong as well? So I was about to say that 9 can't be shaded, and that's wrong, isn't it? Because I was looking at I'm sorry about this, by the way. I think if you'd never seen a puzzle with circles rules before, this would be easier to solve, actually, because I'm looking at this and I'm seeing that in box 6 there are no circles, and therefore I'm thinking that 9 can't be shaded, and that's just not true. Right, so what we're going to have to do is to try, it's not to do with the top row, is it? Where I've got an absolute plethora of circles. So, yeah, no, the circles are horrible. The circles are horrible. They don't do nearly what I want them to do. Because even if I had a 9 in a circle, that's not saying anything about whether 9 is shaded. Yeah, okay, so we need to think about this differently. We need to think about this. This is not the logic that we're looking for. Okay, that's in the interest of doing something, I'm going to do that. So, it's not Fistamafel, is it? Just looking at the 2x2s in the corners. No, it can't be Fistamafel. And we have to look at the 3x3 areas centered on circles. So the corner of a grid only has 4 cells to count on that, presumably. The digit in a circle equals the sum of the digits in all the shaded cells in the 3x3 area centered on. Yeah, so that is summing those. Well, no, it's not. It's summing. Ignore the circles. This circle is summing the shaded cells in the red area. But it's got to have a different total, doesn't it, to that cell, for example. So this counts the number. It doesn't count the number of shaded cells, it counts the digits in the shaded cells. So there must be something. There must be at least one shaded cell in there. But that will also be counted by this and this, for that matter. Right, okay, so maybe what we do is, let's just try and concoct a... Can I use the letter tool? Let's label that red and label that yellow. Now what I'm saying here is that the total of this square is the total of any digits in shaded cells in yellow, and then I'll make that blue, and then that will be a B. Oh, hang on. And then that's going to count everything in the box, so that can be purple. And let's make that P. And what does this mean? So all of these digits have to be different. And yet yellow and blue have a number of cells in common with red. Yeah, okay. So one way we could think about this There must be at least one shaded cell in these two yellows and these two blues, I think. Because, alright, here is another deduction, a different deduction. I think, assuming what I've just said is correct, that square is an unshaded square. Yeah, okay. So I've got something now. Because right, the way I'm looking at this is that, let me go to something else. Let's go to the pen tool. Now, in this little congregation, in that 2x2 area there, we know there is at least one shaded cell. And we know that because we know this digit is not a 0. Now, in the yellow flavoured squares, if neither of these was shaded, yellow and red would have the same total because they would coexist in this 2x2 in the corner. So at least one of these two squares is shaded. But the same is true for blue, so at least one of those two cells is shaded. And that means that this digit, which is labelled P here, i.e. it's counting the shaded cells in all of purple, this is already counting 3 different digits totals, because there's at least one shaded cell in the square there, there's at least one shaded cell here, and there's at least one shaded cell here. So how could this be another shaded cell? It couldn't be, because it would be a 4th shaded cell in the box. And if you sum 4 different digits together, you will get a double-digit number, because even if you add 1, 2, 3, and 4, you'll get 10. And I can't write 10 in there. So that square cannot be a shaded square. I'm going to make that my standard colour for unshadedness, which is lime green, or light green. Now, here is another point that we can deduce, therefore. Within the square, and within this domino, and within this domino, there is exactly one shaded square in each of those things. Because if there were more than one, there would be at least 4 shaded squares in the box, and P would be at least 10. So there is exactly one in this domino, exactly one in this domino, and exactly one in the bottom left. And P is at least 6. Because it's adding at least a 1, a 2, and a 3. So if P was 6... No, I'm still getting confused about this. I was about to say then we have to put 6 6s in circles. That's just... I can't get this out of my head. Oh, dear. If P... Do we care what P is? If P... No, because we don't know whether... Do we... Oh, I don't know. I'm confused, actually. I don't think... I'm not sure. I feel like my brain is trying to tell me something about the nature of P. But it's not telling me in very clear language. It's like being filtered through the Tower of Babel, and that's not good. Okay, but actually I can unshade those 2 squares as well, because they've got this funny 2x2 area in the corners as well. So there's a similar thing to what's going on in box 7 going on in these boxes. So you're going to have a shaded digit here, a shaded digit here, a shaded digit here. So all of those things are true. Right. That's interesting. That might give me a digit, or even 2 digits, because... this is gorgeous. Right, I've got it. I've got something. Okay. I mean, this is... Well, Jay Dyer. I think I called a video. I think I've even said this in a subsequent video to the video I'm referring to here. I called a video, Jay Dyer is a genius. And she is a genius. She is a genius. because I don't understand how you begin. I begin to understand how a puzzle like this is solvable, but I don't understand how you can come up with it in the first place, let alone do what she's done here. Right, so the point here that we need to think about is that although the circles are really bad, put the circles to one side, what we can say is that we can't have a whole plethora of shaded ones in this puzzle. How many shaded ones can there be in this puzzle? And the answer to that is 1. Now, that's interesting, because how many of these boxes, therefore, can contain a shaded 1? Well, the answer to that is at most 1 of them. And that means at least 2 of these shaded boxes has no 1 as a shaded cell. Well, what's the sum of the sort of middle digit then, which is summing 3 different digits that don't include a 1 in 2 of the boxes cases. So imagine this box has no 1 in it. This would be at least 2. This would then be at least a 3. This would be at least a 4. So this would be at least a 9. Well, it can't be more than 9. But that applies for 2 of these 3 boxes. We know that the digit in this position, let me try and pick a good colour, that position, the central position, is at least 9 in 2 cases. So what would happen if we wrote 9 here? If we did that? Well, now we could make one of these an 8, but the other one would have to be another 9, and it would clash. So the only way you can arrange this is to put the 9 here and the 9 here. And then you can have a 1 in this box. Oh, hang on. So now I've used my 2's up. Is this an 8? 1, 3, 4 is what? Yeah, this is it. Right. Okay. I don't know whether I'm being clear enough here. I'm just going to go through that as well again, just so that everybody is on the same page. And apologies if you've got it. Well done. If you haven't got it, then I am going to go through it again, because I do think it's quite complicated. What I'm saying is, in each of these, along each of these lines I've drawn, I've got to put one shaded square, and that shaded square has to contain a digit. But only one of these, all these lines could contain a digit 1, because there's only 1 1 in shaded squares. And that means the vast majority of these lines do not contain 1s. So, and once they don't contain a 1, 2 of these boxes must add up to 9, because that's the least you can make with 2, 3 and 4 in the shaded squares. So those 2 9s have to be here, because if I put the 9 here, one of these will be a 10. But now what we have to do is to recognize that we can put the 1 in this box. That's the only one we use. So these are 2, 3 and 4, but that uses the 2 2's. So this box must have a 1, no 2 in a shaded square, a 3 and a 4 in order to keep it below 9 and stop this digit being clashing with these 2 9s. Now, so now I've used up. I don't really know how to notate this. I know that the shaded squares in boxes 3 and 7 are 2, 3 and 4. I know that the shaded cells in box 1 are 1, 3 and 4. So I've used 3 shaded 3's, which is all the shaded 3's. I've used the shaded 1 in this box. I've used both shaded 2's in these boxes. I've used a shaded 3, 1 for each of these boxes. I've used all 3 shaded 3's, and I've used 3 of the 4 shaded 4's. Now, so I've got 1 shaded 4 in the rest of the puzzle. But I've got all these circles, but these circles This is where I'm getting confused again, because my brain keeps thinking that these circles are counting circles, and they're just not. They're counting the digits in shaded cells. So okay, so probably what I want to do, I think it's either going to be, I want to say it's either going to be these two, or these two is where we're meant to look next. Or I'm meant to look in more detail at these boxes and try and work out how to allocate. Do I need my colours anymore? I don't think I do need my colours anymore. I'm going to get rid of my colours. There we go. Now, I know in this box I've got to have a 2, 3 and a 4. But I don't know where they go. But the digit in the corner is the count of the shaded squares. So if this was a 2, I feel this might be wrong, but I think that the corner might be shaded. Because if it wasn't shaded, let me just think about this. Let's say that within this square here, the shaded cell was here and was a 2. Well, isn't this meant to then count that shaded cell and that cell only? It is, yeah. Okay, so that is right. So this is shaded and is equal to 2, 3, or 4. So that logic must be symmetric. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's got to be a 2, 3, or a 4. That's got to be a 1, 3, or a 4. Whoopsie. And the digits that are... But then this digit is adding this digit. And whatever I put on this arrow, which is whatever's not on this. So this is either... So if this was a 2, 3 pair, this would be a 5. If it's a 2, 4 pair, it would be a 6. If it's a 3, 4 pair, it would be a 7. Okay, so this is 5, 6, or 7 into these squares. And up here, so that must be the same here, mustn't it? That must be 5, 6, and 7. Here it's a bit different because... Well, here it is different, actually. Here it's very different because... Well, or is it? I mean, what I'm seeing there is that I don't think that can be a 4. Because I know 4 is shaded in this box. And I've got my... Yes, okay, the way to think about this, to make it clearer, is these are all unshaded. That's the way to think about it. So this digit is counting whatever's shaded in this domino plus this digit. So, but if this was a 4, we know the 4 is meant to be shaded in this box, so it can't be a 4. So it's not... Now, I think that means something, but I might be wrong. Does that mean... It means this... It's not possible for 1 and 3 to be in separate... So I think the corner has to be a 4. I think that's right. I mean, this is actually very, very confusing. But I imagine that this corner square was a 1 or a 3. Well, now I know that one of these dominoes contains whatever this isn't. So let's say the corner was a 1, just because I don't deserve a 3 in a corner. And let's say that there was a shaded 3 in one of those squares. Well, then this square would be a 4, wouldn't it? But I know that there's meant to be a shaded 4 in this box. So that cannot be true. So I think what we're being led to is that it's not possible for there to be a 1 or a 3 in the corner. The corner is a 4. which means this isn't a 4, which means this isn't a 4. And as Maverick flies past, these two digits now, we're adding 1 and 3 to 4, so these are 5 and 7. And we've now got 2s and 3s in the other corner. Now, what does that mean? So the 2, and we've got 2, 3s and 4s to go into these squares. So in one, right, so there is definitely a 5 in one of these squares, and therefore in one of these squares, because they're symmetrical logically. Because whatever this is, 2 or 3, the opposite of that is going to be in one of the shaded squares here or here. So one of these circles adds to 5, and the other circle, oh, then we don't know. Then we don't know, because the other circle is going to be adding 4 to whatever this is, but it could be 2 or 3. So the other square is 6 or 7. But 5 by Sudoku is in one of those squares, which means it's in one of those squares. Oh no. Okay. That's delightful, but I don't know what to do with that. So now... okay, here is a different point altogether. I have an unshaded 9. No, hang on, I can do much better than that. Yes, right. In boxes, in these 3 boxes, those 3 boxes there, the only shaded digits that appear in those 3 boxes are the digits 1, 2, 3, and 4. That means it's not possible in this puzzle for 9, 8, or 7 to ever be shaded. Because if there was ever a shaded 7 even, there would have to be 7 shaded 7s in the puzzle. And yet there are 3 complete boxes of the Sudoku that don't contain a shaded 7. So the remaining boxes 2, 4, 5, 6, 8 and 9, could contain shaded 7s, but only 1 in each box. That's how Sudoku works. So we could have a maximum of 6 shaded 7s, and that's not enough. That means that any other digits apart from, we've got 1, 4 to find that's not in boxes 1, 3 or 7 that's shaded. But if there is anything else shaded, it either has to be shaded 5s or shaded 6s. And it's very hard to have a shaded 6, because if you had a shaded 6 anywhere in the puzzle, then there would have to be a shaded 6 in every single remaining box. It feels like that's quite difficult, is it? Or not? So, I'm just wondering about these circles. And the reason those circles are attracting my attention is that these circles have nothing in common with anything we've done so far regarding shaded cells. You can see the 3x3s surrounding these cannot overlap at all with boxes 1, 3 or 7. So one of these circles, well, in fact most of these circles can only see 1 digit. What I mean by that is that the only way any of these purple circles sees 2 shaded digits is in one extremely specific situation. And that is no, that is true. That is definitely true. That is true. Because let's imagine for a moment that this purple cell sees 2 shaded digits. Well, we know that the lowest shaded digit we could put in dark green is 4, because we've used up all the 1s, 2s and 3s. But this cell cannot be more than 9. So it would have to be a shaded 4 and a shaded 5. That's the only way. So the only way you can see, the only way any of these circles sees 2 shaded digits is if it sees shaded 4 and shaded 5. And that would make 5 a shaded digit. Otherwise, they only see, well, but these have to be different, and so do these. That one, this one can't be 9. So does that, what does that mean? Does that have to be, that has to be, I want to say 4, 5 or 6. Because I think that must be right. Sorry about this. If this is obvious to you guys, I'm so impressed. It's not obvious to me. I'm trying to make my way through it. If this is, it can't see more than 1 digit, can it? Because it would have to see 4 and 5. We've just worked that out, and then that would equal 9, which it's not allowed to equal by Sudoku. So it sees 1 shaded cell in this region. It sees 1 shaded cell, and that shaded cell is 4, 5 or 6, because we know that there are no shaded 7s, 8s or 9s. But then this cell sees those digits. Actually, I'm going to change that green to blue so it's a bit more distinct. Now that one, yeah, this is tricky, isn't it? This is tricky. Because that has to be a different digit to this one. But there you can see, they see these in common. But so this is seeing 1 shaded cell in its. Oh, right. Okay, this is similar point to the one we were looking at down here. That digit is itself shaded, I think. Yeah, that must be right. Let's imagine this was a 5. So i.e. we're seeing a shaded 5 in the blue cells. Well, how could that be in any other cell but this one? It can't be, because we know there would be 2 5s in the box. So this is shaded and is 4, 5 or 6, but it's shaded. So let's make it shaded. But then it's seen by this one, which can't be the same number. So there must be a... Right. This is great, I think. I think this is a 9. Because... I think this is a 9. Because I want to say that this one... Oh, no. No, that is right. This one definitely sees that one, doesn't it? In fact, here's another way. Here's another thing we could say. Because this is the only shaded cell seen by blue, all of these must be unshaded. But now this one, which cannot have the same count as this one, must collect a different shaded cell in one of these 2 squares, and it must be exactly 1. There must be exactly 1 shaded. Actually, I'll do that to indicate that. There's exactly 1 shaded here, because there can't be 2 shaded, because we'd be adding sort of 4, 5 and 6 together or something to make 15, and I can't write 15 into this square. So the reason I think this must be 9 is that we must be adding... Well, we know these must be a 4, 5 pair somehow, because they're the lowest numbers I have available to me, and I've only got 1 4, so I can't add 2 4s together to make 8. So I must be adding a 4 and a 5. 2 5s would make 10. It's too many. So this can't be 6, And there is a 4 or a 5 in this domino. Oh, I mean, I want to do that, but that's a dodgy pencil mark, isn't it? Because that's not saying 4 and 5 are confined to this domino. It's saying 4 or 5 is confined to one of these squares, which is a quite different thing. I'm not going to do it. So this is 4 or 5. If it was 5, well, in fact, now we know. Now we know 5 is shaded in the puzzle. Because it must be. Because whether this is 4 or 5, if this was 4, there must be a shaded 5 here. And therefore there are 5 shaded 5s. So that means, hang on, we can do Sudoku maybe. Yeah, maybe. Or maybe not. I think it's going to be these two next, but just let me think about this. I find it very hard. Well, hang on, I've used all my shaded 4s now. Yeah, this is it. Right. These two squares. How many shaded digits do each of these circles see? And the answer is 1 in both cases. They see 1 shaded cell. Because if they see 2 shaded cells, the only digits that are not accounted for in the puzzle that could possibly be shaded are 5s and 6s. So if you see 2 5s, that's 10 already, isn't it? So one of these, well, this is very interesting as well, because that means 6 is a shaded digit. That's the only way this can possibly work. So this collection of digits, let's get rid of it. We'll do it like that, shall we? So none of these can be shaded, because they would be seen by the other circle, if you see what I mean. And we know each of these is seeing 1 shaded digit. They cannot see 2 shaded digits, so those have to all be unshaded. Now, if this was a 5 and there's a 5 here, no, we don't know, do we? Hang on, but one of these is a shaded 6. Yes, we have established now that there is such a thing in this puzzle as a shaded 6, but we know there are no shaded 6s in boxes 1, 3 and 7. So every other box has a shaded 6, and that means because one of these is a 6, it is shaded. So actually I've just realised I can unsixify this central digit. So, but one of these is a 5, and that may or may not be shaded, depending on things. Because if it was unshaded, then it would be the only other example of unshaded 5s, along with boxes 1, 3 and 7. Because box 5 would then contain the 4th unshaded 5, and every other 5 in the grid would have to be shaded. So one of these would be shaded, one of these would be shaded. But if it was shaded in the middle, then there's another box that contains an unshaded 5. So what about this square then? That square is summing the shaded things in this. See, I don't like that as much, because that's got overlap with all sorts of things that could be... Well, it could pinch this digit, which could be a low digit to help it get to its total. Or does it have to pick this digit up? Maybe that's the point. If it didn't pick this digit up, then we know this is unshaded, we know this is unshaded, so it would be picking up shaded cells in that coterie of digits, but it could only pick up 1, because 2 lots of 5, 2 lots of 6, or a 5 and a 6 is too big, so it would either be a 5 or a 6, and then it would be different from this, but the same as this. I don't know, that looks complicated. I know there's a 4 or a 5 in here, don't I? But I also know now that we have loads of shaded 5s and loads of shaded 6s. And I know I've got 1s and 3s onto the... I mean, I could do that. That's a valid pencil mark, I think. In fact, I'm going to do that. Two, 3, 4, 5. Oh no, that's not really helped me, has it? Oh, maybe that digit then. What's going on with this square? That is another... Yeah, that's a break in the symmetry. Actually, let me just think about that. I'm just gonna remove that for a moment and think about that collection of digits. So that is saying it's counting something. It's counting something. It's counting. Neither of these is shaded, so it's not counting those. So actually I can unorangify those. There is definitely a shadedness in one of these two squares, which it is counting. But, oh I see, but it could be counting itself. So if this was shaded, then it would be the shaded digit along this line. So it couldn't be a 4 then, it would be a 2 or a 3. So that if this is shaded, it's 2 or 3. Oh no, because then it might be adding a digit from over here. But these have to have a different total, don't they? Yeah, oh, okay. That is a fair point. Right, there must be something shaded. Ah, does that mean that, does that have to have a 6 in one of these two squares? That might be the point. So what I'm seeing, and this might be wrong, is that this square is definitely counting the total of shaded squares in orange, in the remaining 4 orange squares. That's definitely true. But this square overlaps completely with those 4 squares in orange, except it also counts any shaded squares in that domino, that yellow domino. So imagine there was no shaded squares in the yellow domino. Well, then these two digits would be the same number. So there must be a shaded square in the yellow domino. And then I'm going to ask, well, what is the shaded digit in the yellow domino? Because it can't be 5, apparently. And it's not 1, 2, 3, or 4, because they've already been hypothecated. All of the shaded instances of 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4 have been hypothecated in the grid. So this is a shaded 6 in one of these two squares. Don't tell me that doesn't do anything. That's sickening if that's right. Well, so this digit is adding... Yeah, no, it is doing something. It is doing something. Because the digit that's shaded in this domino now is not 4, because it would be adding 4 and 6 to make 10 into this square. So it's 2 or 3 in here. And there's a 4 there in one of these two squares. Shaded. And this square is 8 or 9, depending on whether this is 2 or 3. Now, now, what does that mean, I hear you ask? And the answer is I don't know yet. Let me think. If there's a shaded 4 in one of these, I know this is now 5 because it's adding 2 or 3 here to 2 or 3 here. So this is 5. This is now 6 or 7. Oh, this is just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Oh no! Come on. Oh, I've got tears in my eyes. It's so beautiful, this puzzle. Okay, so this digit, it's a very low number. In fact, does it have to be shaded? I think it does. I think this has to be the shaded digit, doesn't it? Because if the shaded digit was here, the count of this square would be this shaded digit. Yeah, so this is shaded. Sorry, that's been obvious for ages. Therefore, it's 2 or 3. Therefore, whoops, therefore we're in this world. And this square is unshaded. And I've got a 2, 3 pair here. And then I've got a shaded 6 in one of these squares. I don't know whether I've got a shaded 5 in one of those squares because we don't understand what's going on with that yet. But this square's now... that's it. There we go. It's this square. Because, look, those squares are the sum of everything shaded in this rectangle, that rectangle. That's what this is. Now, we know there's a shaded 6 here. We can't be adding... The only other shaded digit we can possibly be adding to that is this one on here. Now, imagine it was a 1 on here. That would make this a 7, but we've already got a 7 in the row. So the digit here must be a 3. 3 plus 6 is 9. Therefore, this is 8. This is 2. And that's 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight, losing its religion. That's 3 by dint of Sudoku. And that 3 is, you've guessed it, shaded. Therefore, this is unshaded. Unshaded. These are both unshaded. These are both unshaded. One of these is shaded, and it's a 6. Let's get rid of that. There's sort of that's what's going on there. That's how this reaches a total of 9. Get rid of the 3 here. I've got to put... Well, okay, I see. There's a 1 that I've got to put in the top row. It has to go here. And that places a 6 here, and we know it's the 6 that's shaded. Jay Dyer is a genius. She is a genius. This is a 6, an unshaded 6. These squares are 1, 2, and 9. This is not a 1, apparently. Yeah, that's right, because I've got to put a 1 here. Yeah, and all the numbers are working out now. This 5 is working. This is 2 or 9. Yeah, we can keep going. Because this is 5, that 5 is summing a 2 or a 3 here. It can't be summing a shaded 4 here, can it? So this contains a shaded 4, which we can now place. 4 is shaded. This is unshaded. 4 is in one of those squares. Well, there's a 3 looking down here. So this is a shaded 2. So there's a 3. Okay. That's another 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight, losing its religion. That's now a 9. This is a 1, 2 pair. 3 plus 4 is 7. So these squares are now 4, 5, and 7. And the bottom of this row is 1, 2, and 8. We know the 2 is a shaded cell in one of these. 1, 2, 8. This digit I ought to be able to get now. That's a 6 apparently. And one of the few unshaded 6s. And now all we've got to do... Might want to think about that, but hang on, let me just say there might be easier things. Oh, there's no 9 here. Do I know more about this middle digit? Do I know what that is yet? No, apparently not. I bet I do, but I just don't know how to do it. Do I know what that? I do know what that is. That's a... Oh, I could have got that from maths. What a silly man. 1, 2, 4. There's a 1 in this row. This is a 2, 4 pair. Apparently, whoops. So these digits are known. They're 357. 357, 129, 468 into these squares. It looks good from a sort of Sudoku perspective, if not from a thingy perspective. All right. Here is quite a nice deduction. Okay, what digit do we know is shaded in most of the grid? And the answer to that is 6. Now, where is the shaded 6 in box 9? And the answer to that is I don't know really, but it's got to be in one of these squares, I think. And therefore, that digit's an 8. There we go. So that's a little win for the good guys. Doesn't do very much, I don't think. That's not 6. There's a 6 in a domino now. Okay. So there is a 6 look in one of those, and it will be a shaded 6. That suggests this is going to be quite a big number. It's not there though, because this is a 5-6 pair. In fact, that's not 5. Now, do we know? We know there's a shaded 1, don't we? Actually, I'm going to make a note of that. It's a shaded 1 in one of these. So it's a shaded 1 that's contributing towards this total. But it could, I think, just be a 1. If it was just a 1 here, and it was adding that digit as its shaded friend, what's wrong with that? Well, yeah, okay. What's the alternative to that? May be a good question. Because the only other digit that could be shaded in this panoply of digits is 5. Well, it can't be a shaded 5 because the 5 is in one of those two squares, in fact. So it would be a shaded 6, wouldn't it? And if that was a shaded 6, and there was a shaded 1 over here, this digit would be a 7, which doesn't work. So there is no shaded 6 in here. And this is a shaded 1. Well, no, let me be precise. It's not a shaded 1. Because there is only one shaded 1, and that's now we've worked out where it is. It is exactly there. That is unshaded, and it's a 2. This is definitely unshaded. There is now no possibility of this being a 6, because remember, all the rest of the 6s are shaded. So this is a 6, and it's shaded. All of this is unshaded, I think. Because, again, we're only looking, in most of these boxes now, we're looking for 5s and 6s to be shaded only. Apart from perhaps a 4 somewhere over here. So now 6 is nearly restricted. 6 is in one of these squares. But, yeah, but if that was 6, that doesn't work. This isn't 6. Oh, in fact, I've seen another reason it's not 6. I've got a 6 down here. I was about to say it would break this total, because we know that this would then be a 6 if that's a shaded 6, but then by being a 6, it would be a shaded 6 itself, and therefore should be a 12, which is very confusing, but I think is true. So we've got a sort of X-wing of 6s here. Let's do Sudoku. It must be Sudoku now, I think. I've got 8, 9 here. 2, 3 here. Oh no, come on. I've only got these 2 circles to look at. I don't know, do I? Do I know? I know if one of these was a 5, it would have to be here. And that would be a 4. That would be a 4 down here. But if there was a 4 in one of those, this would be a 5. I'm sorry, I can't immediately understand how to resolve that. It's probably these two. But that's easier said than done. If it is, then how does it work? Maybe what we have to do... Let's pencil mark. The only thing... Alright, it must be 5s and 6s, mustn't it, somehow, that contribute to these totals. But possibly the fact there is also a shaded 2 in one of these. Well, the shaded 2 is definitely contributing to this one. So this could be just a 2. If that is a shaded 2. And we'd have a corollary to what we had over here. That would be a 2. Okay, so if there's no other shaded digits in this panoply of digits, this is a 2. If there is, then we have to think about 5s and 6s, don't we? And we could only have one of those. So this square is either 7 or 8, if it has a second shaded contributor. So it's 2, 7 or 8. Now... what does that one mean? What does this one equal? Well, this one is more confusing because, again, it could snatch the 2 from here, so it could be a 2. Can it be a 2? But if it's a 2, wouldn't... oh no, that one... oh, I see. No, it's fine. Yeah, it could be a 2. And nothing else in here apart from this is shaded, and then this could still be different from 2 by having, say, a shaded cell here, which would have to be a 5. So that would make this a 7. So I don't think I can rule out 2 from that square, I'm afraid. But if it's not 2, then it's seeing a shaded cell on top. Well, no, because it could just be... well, then it gets very confusing, doesn't it? Because could it just simply be a 5? That's the next question. So it doesn't see this 2, but it just sees a 5, for example, a shaded 5 here. Is that possible? I don't know. I don't know is the answer. It might be. Or, where are the shaded 6s? They're in one of those 3 squares. So, okay, so this can't be just a simple shaded 6. That is ruled out by Sudoku. But it could be 7 or 8 again. If it does see a 2 here, and then it sees a 5 or 6 in the blue squares. So I think this is 2, 5, 7 or 8. But if that's 6, then how does that work? If that's 6, why wouldn't both of those have to be 8? Let me think about that. If that's 6, which is one of the... I haven't got many positions for 6 left in box 8. If that's 6, it's definitely seen by both circles, neither of which individually can be 6. Because this one definitely sees the 2 in one of those. So this would have to be 8. But then this has no option, because it certainly doesn't see the shaded 1, which is up there. So this is impossible. So this is wrong. So that is not shaded 6, is what we get from that. So shaded 6 lives... oh, this is useful. If shaded 6 is over here... yeah, if shaded 6 is over here, this is 5, and this is 6... but, this is beautiful. Got it. I've got it. Right. Now, if this is so clever. It's so clever. If this is 6, which it is, we know it's shaded, because all the 6s are shaded apart from those in boxes 1, 3 and 7. So this is shaded. So it's around it, what do we have? No, nothing else is shaded. And that means the 5 that lives in one of those squares is unshaded. And yet 5 is a shaded digit, remember. So I've now got boxes 1, 3, 4 and 7 with unshaded 5s in. So every other 5 in the grid is shaded, and that is shaded. And if it's shaded, none of those are shaded, because otherwise this wouldn't be a 5. So that is not a 5. There is a shaded 5 in one of those 2 squares. Every other 5 in the puzzle is shaded. So there is a shaded 5 in one of these squares. There. Oh, come on, this must do it, doesn't it? 5. Yeah, oh, look. Right, look at box 6. There is a shaded 5 in box 6. Where? And the answer is, I don't know. But I don't care in this instance, because I know the only possible positions for that shaded 5 are in column 9. And that means that this square is a 4. And that means for this to be a 9, there must be a shaded 5 in one of these 2 squares. And it is now here by a process known as Sudoku. And that is very, very, very beautiful. So this square is shaded 5. So that square is 5 but unshaded. Now, what does that mean? Don't know yet, but this is exciting now. So these squares are definitely unshaded, because remember, in most of these boxes the only things that can be shaded are 5s and 6s. So if a cell cannot be a 5 and a 6, we can just label it with green. So somehow this must disambiguate now. Maybe it's down here again. Well, yeah, okay. I don't think this can be 8 anymore, because it would need to see shaded 6, and it won't. There's no shaded 6 I can put in orange. So I think that that's 2 or 7 now. Now, what about this? Must be the same. In that panoply of digits, there is no such thing as a shaded 6. So this cannot be 8. Oh, it's so close to cracking, isn't it? It really is close now. But there is a shaded 5 for sure that is seen by this. But it could itself be a shaded 5. But if... I think there's a way of resolving this, but my brain is being difficult. Maybe we've got to do something else before we're going to be allowed to do this. There's got to be a shaded 5 in one of those 2 cells. Is that somehow relevant? I don't think so. We know. What do we know? If this square was a 2, it is seen by this. So this would be a 2. No, it wouldn't necessarily be a 2. 2 would contribute to it. But this one... I don't know. I'm not sure. Is this obvious? It probably is obvious to you all. I can't quite see how it's meant to work. Maybe it's Sudoku, you know. Maybe there's some Sudoku jiggery pokery that we could avail ourselves of. What about... actually, that's not an appetizing prospect at first blush anyway. I know there are 2 shaded cells here. That doesn't matter in terms of... I know there's a 4 in one of those 2 squares. Is that helpful? But I know it's an unshaded 4, so I don't think it is. Yeah, you see this, I think this could be a 7-5 pair. There must be something I can do here that's going to help me. I'm sure it's this box somehow. I just can't quite see how to do it. So how shall we approach this? I mean, this is a 4-9 pair. That is something I think I can say by Sudoku. So let's deal with that. Now that seemed to displace a 6 and place a 6 here. And that seems to place a 6 here. And we know all 6s are shaded. So I'm going to put those in. And I don't think that's going to help, but I'm going to do it. In the hope that it generates some sort of intrigue. Therefore, the bottom row consists of 1s, 2s, 7s and 8s. And that is not a 7. But this one's very, very annoying. It can be lots of different things. Okay. Right, so that's not done it. If this is a 5, how would that work? We know this can't be a 2. Sorry, that's totally obvious. It can't be a 2 because there is a 5 in its orbit. So that is 5 or 7. Maybe that's crucial. It's so close. It looks like it's trying to create some sort of triple or quadruple in column 4, doesn't it? Oh, okay. But if this was 7 then... Oh, that would work if this was 2. Oh, no. I think that's right. Because if this was 7... and the 2 was here, the 2 wouldn't be seen by this. So this could be 7 here, 5 here, 3 here, 7 here, 5 here. And perhaps that's okay. On the other hand, if this is 2, then this is 7. Because we know this one sees the 5. 2, 2 would make this a 2. Oh, that's a 4, so that's a 4, and that's a 6, so that's a 6. There's another couple of shaded cells. I'm pretty sure they're not going to be important, but let's at least take advantage of them in case. 1. Oh, 1's nearly interesting, but not nearly interesting enough. I need 1, 2 and 8, don't I, into column 9. So there is a tiny bit of restriction there, but I don't think it's good enough. Oh, come on. Come on, Simon. What am I missing? Probably my brain is slowly cooking in my head in the temperature that it is outside. Well, more to the point, in my attic. So I know, okay, maybe what we could do is go about this more methodically and try and work out what we know for sure. See, that is a 2 or a 7. That's definitely a green digit. Is there some clue that's pushing? I don't know. Oh dear, dear, dear. I know this. I know this definitely is a 2 in one of these squares, but I don't know which one it is. Or at least I don't think I do. So this definitely is at least 2. If it's 7, I have to put a 5 in one of those, which would put a 5 here. So if this is 7, this is 5, and it couldn't see the 2. So this would be a 2-7 pair. This would be a 1-8 pair. And that looks to me like it works. That's if this is 2. No, sorry, was that if this is 7? That was if this is 7. That becomes a 2-7 pair. But if this is 2, then that is 2, and that is 7. So there is definitely a 7 in one of those squares, isn't there? Because it's either a 7 here with a 2 here, or it's a 7 here, because the 2's been pushed up. So if there is a 7 in one of those, that is not a 7 and becomes a 3 or a 5. Is there some clue over here that will bump into something? I'm not sure. 7 here. 5 here. Does that break? Then that's 5 and it's shaded. Wow, I don't know. How peculiar. I don't know what to do. I've got this chocolate teapot triple here. I've got what's this middle digit doing? Is that somehow resolved by something? Or is it some sort of weird Sudoku trick? There is a 4 in one of those, actually, I've just seen. But that is true. So maybe there's more Sudoku to be done. I don't know, actually. It doesn't appeal to me thinking about that. Oh, it was going so smoothly, wasn't it? And I've come a cropper. I don't see how these are resolved. I really don't. I feel very stupid about this. If there were, maybe, is there a reason you can't put the 5 as high up as this? Is it seen by some other clue or something? Because if the 5 had to be lower, then this would have to be 7. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm sure this is very doable at this point. I just can't quite see how to resolve it. I'm feeling a bit dense about it as well, because I'm just not really sure where to look. Okay, let's think about these digits then. Those digits are from 3, 5, and 7. And that digit is not 7. So this digit is 3 or 5. That digit seems to be able to be anything. Is there something we can do with that? I don't think I know enough about 3s or 2s. Okay, what is it then? 9 is adding those digits. It was all working and sort of meshing together beautifully. And I know that there is a shaded 2 in one of these squares. So this must be, it's this congregation. I've just got to figure it out. I've got to suck it up and work out what's going on. Okay, so what did we work? Let's make that 7. If that's 7, we know this is 5. We know the 2 must be low. So this is shaded 2. This is a 1-8 unshaded pair. This 5 we know is shaded. Ah, that's it. Because it can't, that's it. Oh, it's very clever. Jay, you got me. That's taken me about 15 minutes to work out that final step. But it's absolutely fair. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Yeah. Okay. So it's going back to this old chestnut that if we make this a 5, what we're actually saying is that the 5 that's seen, we know there's a 5 in here that's seen, but it must be itself. because I can't put a second shaded 5 into this box, and there's nowhere else for this to get a shaded 5 from. But of course, if this is the shaded 5, this can't be. It never sees this digit. So then this would only have the option of being 2, but that 2 pushes this up here and makes this a 7, where we've just said it's a 5, so it's impossible to make that work. So in fact, this must be 7, this must be 2, that must be 2. That's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant, and it got me. It got me well and truly. So, Jay, you probably enjoyed that. This is now a 7. 1, 3, and 8. I feel a bit embarrassed about that, but on the other hand, I hope you'll give me a pass. I don't think this is perhaps the easiest puzzle we've ever done on the channel, but it is actually one of the most brilliant. So, if that's a 7, that's now not a 7. That becomes a 3-5 pair, look, so I should know what those digits are, in theory at least. Those are the digits. I want to say 4, 7, and 9. It's just not very good. There's definitely a 2. Oh, so 2 now. In row 6 has become a bit restricted. It's in one of these 2 squares. Ah, in fact, look, they've got a 4 up there now, so that's a 2, which means that's a 2. This is not a 2 in the middle of the grid, so perhaps that's going to be useful. He says, desperately staring at the puzzle, saying, what's going on? I've got a 4 or an 8 in the middle of the grid now. Oh, come on, naughty puzzle. Yeah, this 2 doesn't see a 5, does it? So the 5 that's shaded must be here. And nothing else around this clue. All of these squares are now unshaded. Apart from the 2. Whoops, nearly made a ricket. So this is now a shaded 5 by Sudoku. That's an unshaded 3 by Sudoku. This square's a 1 by Sudoku, and that's an 8, and that's a 1, and that's an 8. So this is a 2, this is a 1, this is a 2, this is a 3. Okay, and then we can see that this is a 1. That's unshaded. There's only one shaded 1, remember. These are 5 and 8. No, not 5 and 8, that's nonsense. We've just had this is 8 and something. 3, I think. Okay, this is no longer 5, and okay, I don't know what to do with that. Where should we look? Do we think it's, I don't know, it feels to me like it's probably column 4, but it might not be. No, this is a 5. That is shaded, isn't it? Because the 5 in this box was unshaded. 3s and 7s are unshaded in those positions. So in this column, we need 1s, 3s, and 8s. So the 1 can only go there. And that's an 8, and that's a 3, and that's an 8. Which means the middle digit is a 4 of all things. So 4 and 7 go into the grid. That becomes a 9. That's a 9, that's an 8. Okay, this is now a 7, this is a 4. These 2 squares are 7 and 9, which I don't believe it's not resolved, I don't think. But that digit is 3, and that will resolve it by a sort of backdoor means. And look, I've done it. I've done the puzzle. There we go. That is a magnificent puzzle. It's absolutely genius. Absolute genius, yes. 50 people have solved it in quite a long time, actually. Because basically, my view is that once you see a new Jay Dyer puzzle, presumably, you're going to try it. So I would imagine a lot of people have attempted this over 2/3 of a month. And yeah, so I feel a bit better actually seeing that solve count, because I found it absolutely fascinating, but not easy, especially not, well, I think this I could have resolved more quickly. I just got hung up on this digit. I didn't see the fact that if it was 5, it would have to be 5 itself. So I could have resolved the back end a bit more quickly, but even the front end, this idea around these 3 boxes giving rise to sort of 2 9s in these positions. It's so ludicrously beautiful. And I don't think that was that easy to see. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. It's a long video tonight. I hope you'll forgive me. If you prefer shorter videos, let me know in the comments. If you prefer longer videos, let me know in the comments. I just love hearing from you. And thank you so much for watching if you're still with me. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.